Okay, so you know how we all spend like a huge chunk of our lives at work?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, what if we could make that time a little less like, ugh, Monday again, and a little more like, okay, I got this.
Now that would be awesome.
Right. So today, we're diving deep into peace, joy, and happiness. At Work, this book by Dr. Mark Weifel, he's got some really interesting insights into how we can all get along a little better at work.
And it all starts with understanding ourselves and each other a little better.
Exactly. And that's where this whole DISC model comes in. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's the super helpful tool that breaks down personality types into these four main categories.
You want to walk us through those?
Absolutely. So we've got dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. And we've all got a little bit of each inside us, right?
Yeah, totally. Like a personality cocktail.
Aha, exactly. But we usually lean more towards one or two.
So how do these different types actually play out in a work setting?
Well, let's take dominance, for example.
Okay, so someone who's high in the dominant scale, what are they like?
They're like those natural-born leaders. They love taking charge, making quick decisions, not afraid to take risks.
Yeah, I could see how that would be super valuable, especially in a fast-paced environment. But are there any potential downsides?
Well, sometimes folks who are very dominant, they can come across as a bit impatient.
Or maybe a little pussy?
Yeah, exactly. Like they might need a little help with the whole, diplomacy thing.
I can totally see that. So Dr. Weifel, in his book, does he give any tips on how to work effectively with someone who's super dominant?
Oh, for sure. He's got a ton of practical advice.
Like what?
Well, he actually tells this great story about a manager who was just butting heads with a very dominant employee.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was causing a lot of tension in the team. The manager, she kept trying to get him to slow down, consider other perspectives, but it just wasn't working.
Sounds frustrating.
It totally was. But then she realized she needed to change her approach. She needed to frame things in a way that would actually appeal to him.
So how did she do that?
Instead of saying, hey, let's take a more collaborative approach, she was like, I bet you can't figure out a solution to this problem in under an hour.
Oh, wow. So she turned it into a challenge.
Exactly. And because he was so driven by achieving goals and overcoming obstacles, it totally worked. He was like, game on.
That's so clever. Okay, so that's dominance. What about influence? What are people who are high in influence like?
Oh, they are the life of the party. Super enthusiastic, love connecting with people, great at building relationships.
Yeah, they bring the energy, right?
Totally. But sometimes they can get a little sidetracked.
Easily distracted.
Yeah, exactly. They might start a million projects but have trouble finishing them all. Or they might get so caught up in the big picture that they miss some of the important details.
Makes sense. So what's the key to working well with someone who's high in influence?
Well, Dr. Weifel suggests, giving them a clear structure.
Like deadlines and specific tasks.
Exactly. It helps them stay focused.
I can see that. Okay, so we've covered dominance and influence. What's next?
Steadiness. Think was the calm in the storm. They're those rock-solid, reliable folks who are all about teamwork and creating a harmonious environment.
Yeah, they're the glue that holds everything together.
Exactly. But sometimes people who are high in steadiness, they can be a little resistant to change. They prefer things to stay the same.
And they probably avoid conflict at all costs.
Oh, for sure. They don't want to rock the boat. So Dr. Weifel's advice for working with them is to be patient and really explain the benefits of any proposed changes. Help them see how it's going to make things better.
Makes total sense. Okay, last but not least, we have conscientiousness. What's that all about?
These are the detail-oriented folks. They're all about accuracy, precision, doing things by the book.
Yeah, they're the ones who catch all the typos, right?
Ha ha, exactly. But sometimes, that attention to detail can tip over into perfectionism.
Oh yeah, I can see that happening. Like they might struggle to let go of a project because it's never quite perfect in their eyes.
Exactly. And they can also have trouble delegating. They want to do everything themselves because they're convinced they can do it best.
So Dr. Weifel, any tips for working with those conscientiousness types?
He suggests giving them really clear instructions and letting them have their space to work independently. Don't micromanage.
Got it. So, okay, we've talked about all these different DSD types, but how can we actually use this information to make our work lives better?
Well, the biggest takeaway from the book is that it all starts with self-awareness. Understanding your own DISC profile is key.
Yeah, it's like looking in a mirror and finally understanding why you react the way you do in certain situations.
Exactly. Once you know your own strengths and weaknesses, you can start to see how they impact your interactions with others.
So like, if you know you're super high in dominance, you can make a conscious effort to be a little more patient with colleagues who might not be as quick to make decisions.
Right. And then the next step is to start paying attention to the DES profiles of the people around you.
So like, if you have a colleague who's always super enthusiastic and loves brainstorming but struggles to meet deadlines, you can kind of guess they might be high in influence.
Exactly. You don't have to, psychoanalyze them. Just observe how they communicate and how they approach tasks.
And once you have a sense of their DSP file, you can tailor your communication style to work more effectively with them.
Right. It's like having a secret decoder ring for all those tricky workplace interactions.
That's a great analogy. So what I'm hearing is that the DES matter isn't about putting people in boxes. It's about using this knowledge to build stronger relationships and get things done more smoothly.
Exactly.
Okay, so now I want to turn it over to you, our listeners. Think about a time when you had a conflict at work, or maybe just a little misunderstanding with a colleague.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Totally. Now, think about it through the lens of DISC. Could those different personality types have been at play? How might understanding your own profile and the profile of the other person have helped you navigate that situation differently?
It's really interesting to think about, isn't it?
It totally is, and that's what we want you to take away from this deep dive. The DISC model can be a really powerful tool for creating more peace, joy, and happiness at work for everyone.
I couldn't agree more.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought. And remember, there's always more to discover, so keep those minds curious.